All right, guys, I'm here for your monthly update for June of 2021, and we are going through the CMI in every city, so you don't want to miss this. Hi everyone, it's Caitlin McKegg. I am a realtor here in Phoenix, Arizona. Thanks so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate all of the subscribers and new subscribers, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But every week I post new videos about Phoenix real estate, living in Phoenix, and seller and buyer tips. So if any of that's interesting to you, you might want to continue to follow me. You can also check out my Instagram and Facebook to keep up to date with my social media there as well. Every month I do a market update that covers the past month of what's been going on in the Phoenix real estate market. I also do a weekly update, which is very interesting to most of you. And so today I'm combining both the monthly update, but we're going to focus specifically on the CMI since that has been making some big changes lately. And I think all of you will find it interesting to look at every major city in the valley and where the CMI has been going, where it's headed now on a graph. So make sure you stay tuned for that. First, I have to give credit to the Cromford report. All of this information that I have access to is because I'm a subscriber to the Cromford report. They produce information for realtors to use and share with their clients and be able to educate themselves and their clients on what's going on in the market. One of the big things that I focus on every week is the CMI, which stands for the Cromford Market Index. This is an index that the Cromford report has come up with based off of historical factors and seasonal trends in our market, and it's an indicator of supply and demand in our market. I'm telling you this now because we're going to dive into it in a little bit, but just remember anywhere between 90 to 110 is considered a balanced market. Any reading of the CMI that's below 90 is a buyer's market, and any reading above 110 is a seller's market. We'll get back to that in a minute. So for starters, let's compare statistics from June of 2021 to June of 2020. Right now, our active listings for sale are down 54% from June of 2020. Our listings under contract are actually down this month, 9.2%. Our monthly median sales price is up 32%, and that sits at $390,000. Our number of closed sales are up 38%, and our months of supply is sitting at 0.5. Months of supply means that if no new homes came on the market for sale, we would run out of homes for sale in 0.5 months or 2 weeks. I think these comparisons are going to start to get pretty interesting as the months go on when we look back at 2020. Around this time last year, we were really exploding with real estate. Some of the lockdowns had finally been lifted. We started to get a lot of interest in buyers coming to Arizona, and all the pent-up demand from our lockdowns really came to fruition around this time. So it's going to start to look pretty drastic in comparison to 2020 as the months go on. Okay guys, let's dive into the CMI. First, let's talk about the overall Phoenix area, and then we'll start breaking things down by city. Now I know I'm posting this on July 2nd, but I did record everything on June 30th, so this information will be 2 days old by the time you get it. So the CMI for Phoenix overall is 410.9. And if you watched my video on Monday, the CMI was 416, so we've already gone down 6 points since Monday. Now remember what I said in the beginning, anything above 110 is considered a seller's market. So 410 is a very strong seller's market. However, we've been decreasing in this CMI reading since March, and it's continuing to go down. So it's really indicating to us that we are having a shift and some future change coming to our market. Now, if we look at the same factor for supply, we see that supply is at 25.8, which means that we're about 75% below normal for supply. That is a very low amount of supply, and that's been our issue for quite a while. But recently, supply has started to increase. For a long time, I was reporting this number around 22, so we were 78% below normal, and it really wasn't moving much at all. In the last couple months, we're now to about 75% below normal, so there's certainly been improvement with supply, which is one of the reasons we're starting to see a shift in the market. Now, if we look over at demand, the demand index is still above normal at 105.9, and that has also gone down since Monday. That was 106.4 on Monday. So 105.9 means that we are 5.9% above normal for demand in Phoenix. The demand factor has been decreasing as well. That number was much higher months ago. As we got into the beginning of this year, I think we were in the 130 range. So now that we're at 105, it has dropped significantly. We were hanging around the 110 number for a while, but it started to decrease and clearly has already made a move since Monday. So the demand might be decreasing as well. When you have a situation where your supply is low and your demand is high, it obviously puts pressure on prices because there's not enough inventory for buyers, right? And we've had this problem for a long time, but things are starting to change. Our demand has come down a little bit and our supply has come up a little bit. And so the closer supply and demand get toward one another, the closer we get towards balance. Speaking of balance, the CMI has come down about 33 points in the last month. If we assume that that trajectory will continue, that will take us about 9 months until we're in a balanced market. Now, a lot of things could change along the way. There is no guarantee or prediction that it will only take 9 months to get to balance, but assuming nothing changes and things continue as they are, it could be a balanced market here in Phoenix in 9 months. Okay, let's take a look at all of the major cities here and what their CMIs look like. This is only the major cities in Phoenix. I'm not going through every single one because we don't have all day, but if you want to know more specifically, definitely comment below and I can get you that information. Okay, so starting with Avondale, you can see this shape and trajectory here. So they peaked in February at 1,023, which is crazy. They've been dropping since then, flattened a little bit, and some pretty significant drops the last couple weeks, sitting at 639.1. I mean, this is pretty big, 718 to 639 in 1 week. That is a huge drop. So Avondale is definitely one we want to keep our eyes on. If that pattern continues, that is going to be in a balanced market very quickly. Let's look at Buckeye next. Similar here, not as drastic, peaking around the same time, 472. Now sitting at 359.3. That is still very much a seller's market. Again, anything over 110. So we are still in a super strong seller's market in Buckeye, but it has softened quite a bit. It was at 472 and now clearly on a downward trend. So again, you know, watching Buckeye would be a good idea. Once we get into the 200 range, if you are a seller, it might be something you want to think about doing sooner than later. Or at least considering it a bit more seriously. So at 359, we still have some time, but let's make sure that we watch how quickly this drops. Let's check out Cave Creek. They've had some pretty significant drops, but now looks like they're actually going up in the last week. So they went from 393.2 to 397.4. Why not just do a different trend, Cave Creek? So we'll see where this heads. Maybe that's going to go back up. I don't know. Again, 397 still a super strong seller's market, but not what it was at 583. So it's definitely made some changes. Be interesting to see if this one goes back up. Chandler is sitting at 477.5. Really strong number there. They clearly took a nosedive here from 773 all the way down to 668 pretty quickly. Consistently have been going down, flattened a bit, and then down again. So it'll be interesting to see, but you can see these leaps that they took. Oh my gosh, in December, January in Chandler. I mean, this is why Chandler was so hard to get any buyers under contract during that time, because these are like insane gains here through those months. So coming back down, but it's not coming back down at this rate, which is good because that would be a little scary. So we'll see what happens with Chandler if it continues on that downward trend. Fountain Hills, they're moving down pretty quick here. 556.3. And they were at 739.6 at the end of April. And those are some pretty big gaps between each dot there. Each dot is a week. So those are some pretty big jumps downwards. So Fountain Hills is definitely one of those that we want to watch just because of how quickly they're moving down. Again, still 556. I mean, that is a very strong seller's market. But if that's going to be 400 in a week, or not a week, but a month, we may have something different to talk about with Fountain Hills. So let's check out Gilbert. Gilbert is definitely headed downward. Tried to go up for 1 week there in May and then back on the downward trend. So Gilbert is also headed in the same direction, 426.9, also a very strong seller's market, but not quite where it was at when it was at 762. So that's Gilbert for you. By the way, all of these graphs have this big drop here. This was the pandemic last year. And then most of them kind of creeped up and then totally shot up. This is when things just kind of went wild here towards the end of last summer. So that's what you see there, and peaked in February, March, and they're all starting to go down for the most part, generally. Glendale, see, it has the same dip, went up, actually went back down, interesting, in September, and then started to go up again. Down, rallied again, down, I don't know, is it going to rally again? It might. 436.3, still really strong in terms of the seller's market. I was helping some clients buy in, I think it was around March timeframe in Glendale, and it was pretty ruthless, which makes a lot of sense seeing this. So 436, still definitely a seller's market, but it has gone down quite a bit. So we'll see if that plateaus. Interesting that the last couple weeks have not been so drastic. Goodyear is its own little situation here because it's going up. It went from 479.8 to 496.2 in the last 3 weeks. So I don't know. Goodyear is kind of doing its own thing. Good for Goodyear. It went down pretty quickly though, and then kind of stabilized and back up. So 496.2, definitely a strong seller's market there and trending upward. We'll see what happens. Mariposa. Okay, so Mariposa took some pretty steep declines and then has really been very slow to go down. 374.1, still very high, but it's been going down. As long as this doesn't happen again, they're okay as far as the seller's market. But, if they start to drop steep again, they're going to get close to, the 200 range, or at least in the 200s sooner than later. Mesa just looks real consistent, real stable with its decrease. So 419.9, still a strong seller's market. What's interesting to see is comparing the previous month when it was the same reading. So if we look over here, this was in November. So you can basically compare the market in Mesa to what it was like in November. So if you were a buyer or seller in November or thinking about it, and if you can remember what that environment was like, that's kind of where we're back to now. So it's interesting to see these comparisons because almost every city has a place to compare it to since we're kind of on the way back down. Paradise Valley, 344. It has been stabilizing a little bit the last few weeks, but again, still been on a downward trend like everyone else, just not quite as crazy. And most of these peaked in February and March. You can see February and March for Paradise Valley continued to increase and stabilized, then went up again. So Paradise Valley behaves a little bit differently just because it is almost all luxury in Paradise Valley. So the luxury market has been going crazy. Anything over $1 million or $1.5 million, Paradise Valley has definitely just done some different things. So had some severe drop, but now it's kind of just stabilizing. Still very much a seller's market there. Peoria had a big drop last week, so we'll see if that continues, but they're still at 423.3. Phoenix is hard because there are so many different zip codes within Phoenix. So I would say if you're trying to measure anything on Phoenix, ask me about a specific zip code and I can get you more information about that to be more specific, because this is just going to be pretty broad, but you know, following the same trend here, Phoenix is at 406.6. Queen Creek is sitting at 357.7, lower than some of the others, but still a seller's market, still in the downward trend. Scottsdale is sitting at 429.6, kind of doing the same thing as everyone else. We'll see what happens there. Surprise had a downturn and then stable and then back down. So 449.1, still a super strong seller's market there as well. This might continue to go down. Maybe it'll stabilize again. It had its peak around the same time everyone else did. Just this little rally and stabilization came when most other cities were continuing to go down. So who knows if this is going to behave the same. And finally, we have Tempe. Tempe is sitting at 294.5. So that is the lowest of all the CMIs that we've seen. If you are thinking of selling in Tempe, you may want to consider it a bit more seriously right now, because if that continues to go down, it is going to be teetering on the time when your seller's market is really not that strong anymore. So we'll see what happens. It took some big drops back here in April. And then a little bit smaller. Now it's going down again. So Tempe kind of has a big question mark. So we just saw all those major cities and can see where they're headed in terms of their CMI, but how long is it going to take each one to get to a balanced market if we assume that the trajectory they're on now continues? I have a really awesome chart I'm going to show you. This is from the most recent presentation I was at for the Cromford report. So again, thank you to them for doing all of these calculations and helping us understand. Let's take a look. So Anthem is the most at risk, sitting at 1.6 months until they reached a balanced market if they continue on the current rate of decline. We'll see if that happens. I don't know if they'll continue on that same rate, but if so, Anthem is one place that is going to change pretty drastically. Levine is second on this list, 2.2 months until they get to a balanced market. Avondale, 3.3 months. Fountain Hills, 3.6 months. Glendale, 4.1 months. So everything in that first group that's kind of in the red, Anthem, Levine, Avondale, Fountain Hills, Glendale, Gilbert, Peoria, Apache Junction, Mesa, Scottsdale, and Surprise. We should keep an eye on all of those, especially if you are a seller considering selling, because once that CMI gets into the 200s and close to the 200 mark, you definitely want to consider selling at that point if you need to, because things could change pretty quickly from there. The next set is kind of in the 6 to 8 month range. So Queen Creek, Chandler, Casa Grande, Buckeye, Tempe, and Sun Lakes. And then you've got your green, which is Phoenix, Mariposa, Tolleson, and Cave Creek. All of those are about a year, 11 months to 14 months. Paradise Valley, El Mirage, those you've got a long time on those if they continue where they're at. And we actually have a few cities where their CMI is rising. That's Litchfield Park, Goodyear, Sun City West, and Gold Canyon. So not a whole lot of concern for those at this point. So that's all I've got for market updates. Let's talk about the dog of the week. This week I am highlighting a dog from Halo Animal Rescue. Every week I showcase a dog that is up for adoption at a local animal shelter in hopes we can get them their forever home. And this week I am talking about Kenya with Halo Animal Rescue. I can't even with those ears. So cute. Kenya is 2 years old and 3 months, and she is a female. I don't have a whole lot of information on her. They say she's a shepherd mix, and that's about all I can see. But she's located at the Halo Animal Rescue. If she's an interesting dog for you, make sure you check out the link below. You can see her profile and reach out to Halo, or just stop by or share her information if you know of a good family for her, so we can make sure she gets adopted. Thank you as always for coming to my channel, watching this video, for subscribing and supporting all the information that I share every week. I really appreciate it. If there's anything I can do to help you buy or sell real estate, feel free to reach out anytime. You can also set up a time to chat with me. Below, I have a link to schedule a call, or my contact information is in there as well. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope everyone has a great weekend.